Welcome to the Illuminate Your Essence podcast, where we cut through the distractions, programs, and stories that have created chaos in your life and discover the truth, bliss, and joy that exists beyond the external clutter and resides within. Welcome, my friends. Excited about this episode because this is where all the goodness comes in, right? Creating the life that we desire, manifesting what we really want instead of what we don't want. And so I'm excited to talk to you about creation because you are a massively powerful co-creator in this life. And you may not even be aware of that. And in fact, a lot of the things that we don't desire are a direct result in the fact that we really truly have called those things into our lives. You may feel a little restriction when I say that. There might be an emotional reaction that happens when I share that information with you, but it's absolutely true. We have even our health issues, many of them or all of them, arguably, are a direct result of our thoughts and also the energy and the blocked energy within ourselves from old residue of trauma, old residue of thoughts and beliefs. And this is also cause for the life that we created. So today we're going to talk about creation. How do we create? How do we have a life of abundance? And when I share the word abundance, I love that word, by the way. I think of it as an overflow of things in our lives, so much so that we don't even need to take or deplete ourselves from them, whether that's health or energy, perhaps it's relationships, financial abundance, all the goodness in life, all the things we want more of. So let's start at the beginning and remember that you did create what you have right now. And it most likely came in the form of the thoughts that you were thinking or the words that you spoke or just the beliefs, programs, and stories of the past that kept you perpetuating the same things over and over and over. So today we're going to move past that and really just embrace the fact that the first key in manifestation is taking absolute ownership of your life, that you did create this and you can create in the future. Having a 100% radical accountability and responsibility for your life is the very first part of creation and manifestation. So we start with that and understand and have radical compassion and radical forgiveness for the person who created something we didn't really love, that we don't really want. And we are humans. We are all humans in this human form, divine beings having a human experience. So we get to practice radical compassion and forgiveness over and over and over because things don't appear in our life just spontaneously. And so we have layers to uncover the truth, to uncover the absolute perfection of ourselves internally that were just shadowed by the lies of and programs of yesterday. So there we have it. We start with compassion, we start with responsibility, and then we move forward from that and we create something different, something new, something fresh, something even magical. I like that word, magical. All right. So the first thing that we do with manifestation once we have those two components in place is we call into the universe really what we want. What is it? It's like going to a restaurant and opening the menu and telling the server that you want food. So be very specific. What do you want? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? Use all your 5 senses in order to call that in. That's why so many times people use vision boards, because it's a little easier to look at a picture and call into your awareness. What does that feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What thoughts do I have? What emotions come up? And that's really the key of manifestation, is feeling and being grateful in the now for what you're calling in the future, because you are so sure you're going to get it, that you are calling upon it in the present moment and being grateful for it today, because all things are created spiritually first before they they are physically manifested. So we are allowing ourselves to call into the universe. This is what I am calling into creation. This is the kind of relationship I want. This is the kind of home I want. This is the kind of job I want. This is the kind of career I want. This is the kind of financial abundance I want. And the more detailed we get with that, the more powerful it is, so that we can actually feel all those five senses, feel the emotions behind it, and then we continue on with that feeling until it actually comes into creation and we see it physically. So that's the first part. Call it in with detail. Do whatever you need to. For me, I am less of a visual person and more of an auditory kinesthetic girl. So I like to write mine down with very, very detailed descriptions. And then I will take that and I will actually speak into my speakerphone and record it on my smartphone. And then I can listen to that. And when it's in your own words, and you are hearing it over and over and over, your subconscious will grab onto that and it will look for opportunities to call that into creation. So once you have it identified and you're feeling the emotions and you're calling it into creation, the next step is to allow yourself to tune in and turn on, is what my friend Laurel Houston says. And I love that version of it. So you're tuning in and then you're turning on and taking bold action in the right direction. So I want you to imagine that every creation is 100% when it's done. Okay. And my friend and mentor, Evan Carmichael, and I believe I said this on an earlier episode, talks about the 2% rule. And what that means is that when you're excited and it's fresh and you're not in your head yet, you're in your heart, you take 2% in the right direction to get it done. If you start procrastinating and start to see that you're falling into a trap, that you need to have your website first, you need to have your business cards first, you need to have your training or certification done first, you are missing opportunities to create and call that in to being right now. So my encouragement is for you to take bold action on 2%. What is something in the right direction that your heart is telling you? And when I say heart, and this is something I teach extensively when I'm working with groups of individuals in my mastermind, is how do you feel when you know it's coming from your heart versus your head? And the biggest key is it feels expansive. It feels peaceful. It feels exciting. Right? Those are the things. It could even feel a little scary, and that's okay. That's just the unknown coming in and creating. And a lot of times that's really just excitement. You might be identifying it and calling and labeling it something different. So we are literally so we utilize that passion and excitement at the beginning to start the equation. 2%, when you take that bold action, then most of the time another 2% will unfold. And then you take bold action with that. Another key element to manifestation is getting out of your own way of blocking the flow. Blocking that flow from it coming to you, because many people are really good at the beginning with their manifestation process, but then all of a sudden they get in their head and they find all the ways that it's not going to happen. And there's even a part of our brain that is rewarded when we start looking at the negative aspects and we worry about how it's not going to happen. It's almost like there's this payoff of, well, if I worry about it now, I won't be let down in the future. And I really want you to think about that, because it's really, truly absurd. You're allowing yourself not only to be disappointed in the end, but also disappointed throughout the entire process. So you're letting yourself down and you are suffering in the midst of creation, which literally prevents it from coming from you. So being open and expansive and just excited that here it's coming, here it's coming, here it's coming. I'm so excited. Here it is. That is how creation is going to land in your lap in all of its glory, all its goodness. And then when it comes, just understand it doesn't always come in the format that you could conceive conceptually in your human brain. Sometimes it's so much greater, and sometimes it's slightly different. And it might even come in the form of a challenge. It might come in for you to have this beautiful unfolding and learning lesson, for you to finally get an opportunity to have that thing or to have that feeling. I work with a lot of individuals that have the financial abundance, but they are so out of alignment with themselves. All they want is peace. So sometimes we get to learn some of the layers, or the lessons rather. We unpeel the layers of the lies so that we can expose the peace. And that isn't always a pleasant experience. It can be, but many times we will create a challenge and maybe even suffer a little bit as we go through the dark night of the soul. And we don't necessarily need to label something good, bad, white, black. Like, our existence down here, that loving part of ourselves, get to experience all things. So understand that when you call into creation something, maybe it won't always look in the exact manner that you called it into being, but trust that it is the perfect way it's showing up for you. And perhaps if you put a label on a time and it doesn't arrive in that time, maybe it is there in your life, you just don't recognize it yet. You will in the future. Hang on to the belief and the faith that it is coming. It is coming, and you just need to be open to receiving whatever that looks like. So these are the tips and the tricks that I would love to offer and extend to you today. If you want to go on a very deep dive, wonderful journey with me, I invite you to reach out to me about my next upcoming mastermind. I curate groups of 8 individuals, 8 women who want to expand their current expansion and their consciousness, that want to call into creation, and they want to do it in joy and pleasure and less hustle and less strife. If that is calling to you and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, I have several testimonials that you'll probably start getting in your email inbox that describe the transformation of what each one of my past participants experienced along this journey. We go in a deep dive for 20 weeks, and we meet once a week as a group. And then you get direct one-on-one support from me on an app where you in real time can share your struggles, your strife, and I can respond and help you see it a different way, in a different pattern, and help you to realign with yourself. Because truly, the way of actually helping you to gain all of the things that most of us are desiring is to connect to yourself first. Many of us are in these safety programs that prevent us from connecting to ourselves. We are on autopilot of fight and flight, always doing, always looking outside of ourselves for the happiness that happens within ourselves. So it's me teaching you and taking you by the hand and leading you back to your heart. So now you're connected to yourself. Once we're connected to ourselves, then we can connect to others on deep, meaningful ways. And then we can connect to the divine in order to create. Because honestly, this entire discussion on manifestation is very challenging and very difficult when we are in fight and flight and we are in our sympathetic nervous system where we can't even concentrate and we're in binary thinking. It's very hard to open yourself up on an expansive level when your body thinks it's threatened because of the way that you've lived. Perhaps you have a couple of jobs and you have kids and you have all the things. Maybe you've had previous traumas that also put your body into this place where it doesn't feel safe. And so as a result, we're calling into creation more of the same. If you're ready to get off the hamster wheel and start really diving deep into these principles and feeling what it feels like to have joy, peace, pleasure, connection, and just an abundant lifestyle, I invite you to come and work with me. We start at the beginning of March, and then we end with a grand finale of an in-person retreat. And let me tell you, we just did this 2 weekends ago, and it was one of the most sacred spaces I've ever shared with the women that were participating in that. And I would love to share that with you. If your heart is racing, if you're feeling a connection to what I'm saying, what I would invite you to do is simply connect with me. Email me, let me know how I can connect with you and talk to you and see if it's a holy hell yes for you and a holy hell yes for me, because that's what it takes in order for us to go on this journey together. And with that being said, oh, by the way, my email is wendy@wendybunnell.com, spelled with two N's, two L's. So B as in boy, UNNELL.com. Or you can message me on Facebook or Instagram, Wendy Bunnell, or my name's on both. And with that being said, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. I can't wait for the deep dive, the dialogue, and the discussion on another episode of Illuminate Your Essence. Satnam, my friends. Thank you for listening. I invite you to continue the dialogue, the discovery, and the deep dive on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also on my website. Feel free to download your free copy of the 5 Steps to Discovering Your Inner Voice and begin your journey of discovering the truth within today.